Are you publicly apologising to me?
No, I'm not.
I wonder what Chris Jenner thinks of me.
I wonder what people's perspective is of Amy Castano. You should watch Notebook with me.
No, I'm good actually. I used to consume what people would say. I used to be so concerned about people's opinions of me.
No business being a Castano. What have you expected from this podcast?
Well, I expect to sit on
this
the
side?
left side, the right side, sorry.
Why?
Right.
Is it because your nose looks better on this side?
No, because I that's just where I started and I like to sit in the same spot.
Why
so I expect to
is
sit
that like
there.
your expectation?
Well, no, it's not my expectation, but I just feel like it's where I belong on the right side.
On the right that was good. She is good.
She's good. But if you continue on.
Yeah, I want to dive deep into expectations because I think that's kind of like, I guess, especially like in my work of life, like what I do as a profession, being a personal trainer, I think people expect so much from you. And like, I remember even this week, I was out.
Yeah.
And then, I had clients like literally text me at like 9 p.m. I looked at the time, 9 p.m.
Oh, yeah, I remember you told me.
And I was like, man, like seriously, like it's 9 p.m. Like I can't.
Give me a break.
Give me a break. Like fuck, like I've had a whole day, and it's just those like expectations that people really expect from you. And I think people forget that I'm actually like human, and I'm not. I'm not ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. But okay, what are your expectations though on the other end? If you were to text someone at 9 p.m., would you expect them to respond?
It depends what it was about. If it was work-based, I'd probably say leave it till tomorrow. But if it was just saying like, say for example, that I needed done, it depends once again who it's coming from as well. What about yourself? What about you?
Expectations around texting and responding.
Yeah.
I
guess from you, like always, and we can talk about this. Obviously, we had that fight during the week.
Jono and I had a fight during the week last week. And
I feel like we don't always fight, but like when we fight,
it's on.
It's on, yeah.
And it was on.
Yeah.
I didn't speak to you the whole day.
Yeah, no, you didn't.
Unless it's about work.
About work, you respond.
We respond
one
and
word,
we talk.
yes, okay.
But yeah, I guess, we had a fight. And we don't usually fight, but when
we do, but it was mainly about in terms of like, I guess just me being so busy, and then me kind of, using that as like because I'm tired, and then I kind of see you obviously like having maybe some free time, and then me kind of like I wouldn't say attacking, but like obviously just being like, hey, look, if you can do this, you can do that and do this, but when I've got to go from here to here to here without having any rest at all.
So it was a projection of your tiredness, of your exhaustion.
Which is like, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of going back to that, what everyone talks about. It's like that burnout, which is, it's so common. But like I said, hey, like,
are you publicly apologising to me?
No, I'm not. No, I'm sticking to my word, I'm sticking to my gun because...
I think the expectation that we have in the business, we have separate roles, right? So my expectation of you is to show up in your space. Your expectation of me is to show up in my space. However, if those expectations aren't voiced, if there are other expectations that are out there that you think in your head, but they're not voiced, or there are boundaries that aren't voiced, how is the other person, or how is anybody meant to know what their expectation is of themselves? Because my definition of high performance, your definition of high performance, pretty much the same. However, not everyone's definitions of certain things are the same. So if you expect an outcome and you expect a certain output, you need to voice what you expect.
Of course, and I think even today, like we had that kind of issue where I got you to do something and then I didn't like the way that you'd done it. And
I said to you, well, this is how I do it. So if you want it in another way, you need to speak up. You need to voice it. And I think that's fair to say. That's putting in boundaries. That's also putting in an expectation of being like, look, if you're going to do something for me, I like it this way. Perfect. I want to know that so that I can, as myself, be like, Jono's happy with what that is. You yourself, you're like, I know I'm going to get what I want out of this.
I think boundaries is such a big thing as well. I think even going into the relationship world and how like setting boundaries. I think that's kind of.
I think we had zero boundaries.
We had zero boundaries, and
and how do you think? And look how it worked out.
Pretty good, but yeah, like even now, like obviously, like meeting people. I think I've really kind of taken that on board and setting boundaries. And this is who I am. This is what I do, and I think learning that has really helped me in terms of understanding on who I am and just creating better friendships.
Yeah, so you're talking about friendships, but what about relationships?
Well,
putting in boundaries and being like, this is who I am. This is what comes with me. These are my expectations from the relationship. This is what I want out of it. Do you voice that?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Definitely a lot better.
A lot more?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have been doing that.
And do you feel that the I guess, response from that or reaction is cool? Like, I'm cool with that? Or do you ever get someone being like, oh, okay, well, if that's the case, then I'm not in?
I guess, yeah, like lately it's been great. You can tell I'm really pushing away from
We're here to talk about, I'm curious. I'm really curious and I want to know.
You got me shy and flustered,
Oh, are you blushing?
I swear, I'm struggling to answer this question.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I guess, the people that, that I have been gone out on, out there when I'm obviously single. I may not be now. We haven't spoken about it, but
okay.
This is what I'm trying to show. But yeah, like I've definitely put boundaries in place, and they've taken it on board. It's been great. It's been good. I feel happy again.
I think that's important.
It's been a solid week. I feel like I kind of, found myself again, and slowly by slowly getting the best version of me. And that kind of, obviously you can see that from my work and what I've been doing, put up on socials. That's definitely when you get the best Jono Castano.
Yeah, well, that's expectations then versus reality. Now, I obviously put out there as well what I do on social media, and it's all happy and colourful and bright and whatnot, but it isn't always.
No, it isn't always 100%. I think, I think with your content as well, like this, I know there's so many people out there that kind of diss it and, really say some bad things about obviously you and
that's okay though. I don't really give a fuck, to be honest.
You don't really care? No,
I don't. I don't care. I don't care what people say. To be honest, that's.
But have you always been like that in terms of like,
No, I haven't.
You haven't, yeah.
No, I used to consume what people would say. I used to be so concerned about people's opinions of me.
Yeah.
And now I don't. I've learned to grow and be like, look, that's your opinion.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
However you perceive me, however you receive me, that's up to you.
It's up to you, yeah.
I am continually being myself, continually like voicing my opinion and also leading my life with my values, which I believe in. Not everyone's going to love that, right?
No, not all. I definitely agree with that, I think even with me, like lately, there's been such a bad image of me and in terms of, like last year and everything. But, I continue to do what I do and, show that I'm obviously the best father and best person. So there is, I think that's the thing with media, we live such like this life of like trying to create a perfect brand, trying to be perfect people. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's perfect. And obviously, for
perfection is a false reality. You're never going to reach perfection. But you can reach what you feel is acceptable for you to live in. And I think that's important to realise as well.
I agree.
Because perfection is everything's perfect. So speaking of, you wanting to be the best father, what are your expectations on yourself to really fulfil that role?
I think for me personally is just, getting to as much as often as I can to see my daughter. Obviously, my daughter's not, she doesn't live like a minute away from me. She lives, if everyone like an hour and a bit. And I think it's always, once again, with my heavy schedule, trying to, cancel days, cancel clients, cancel people that have believed in me to obviously deliver my job. Obviously, I'm letting them down. But then I think obviously me trying to see my daughter as much as I can, I think that's obviously a massive expectation that I've set of myself to whatever time it is, whatever situation, whatever it is, just to be there for her. Obviously, she does the swimming stuff, and for me to try to be there for her, in her swimming classes and all that. Obviously every weekend I put a lot of time into them, and once again, hey, I wish I could see them as more and more, but it is for now as it is, and like I said, hey, I always say Simone's doing such a great job and has allowed me to obviously, continue here with the gym and do what I do best, and but being a great co-parent.
Yeah, well, I think it's such a double-edged sword, right? Because you want to have as much time as you can with your daughter.
Yeah.
However, you want to provide so much for her. So those two things are the opposite. If you're, staying at home and always being there for her, where is the time for you to go to work and provide and give her the best life that you want to give her and provide for her? So those two expectations, everyone's perception of that is always going to be different. Your perception and what you feel is enough, I think you need to accept. What you can provide is what you can, and be proud that you are doing the best job that you are doing, because another person might look at that and be like, no, he needs to stop working, he needs to take a step back, he needs to go and spend all his time with her. Or another person might be like, no, he needs to go further into his career and work even harder because he's got a daughter now. So whatever you are comfortable with, I think you need to accept.
That's where I struggle, and obviously, even hearing this now it's good that I listen to like what you're saying right now. I think it's good. I
give great advice, as you know.
And what about you, Ames?
What about me?
What about you? What about in terms of expectations to be the best partner that you can for Aaron?
Well, I think, there's so many facets of where I set expectations for myself. Expectations in business, expectations as a partner, expectations as a part of my family, expectations a part of being a great business partner. There are so many different areas. Expectations for myself, first and foremost. Those are the expectations that I guess want to live up to. And I think in the past I've always looked to set high expectations and think, okay, you know what, cool, if I don't reach them, it's all good. But now I set high expectations and I'm like, I will reach them and I will, do what I have to get there. That's my stance on my expectations.
And what about in terms of this podcast, what have you felt has come from it?
Well, I think it's really given us what's inside of us. It's given us the opportunity to showcase what's inside of
Cool fashion?
Amy.
Cool fashion?
No, that's the outside. Inside. So I think it's given us the opportunity and a platform to talk about, we're not just glitz and glam, we're not just business owners, we're not just people you see on social media doing all these amazing things. We are real people.
I think I cried in one of the episodes, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, in a few of them actually, yeah.
You've cried every episode, can I just say?
You should watch Notebook with me.
Yeah. No, I'm good actually. So I think that's what this platform and this podcast gives us the opportunity to showcase what's on the inside. We are not just people who, have these glamorous lives and do insane things. Yes, that's a part of our life, but we're not just that. And that's not the definition of us. Definition of yourself is on the inside.
True.
So we are showcasing that here. But what is your expectation of this podcast and what it's going to bring?
Well, I guess like what's definitely brought to myself is, I've had obviously people that do follow us reach out in terms of like, hey, I listened to this and, I had something very similar happen to me in terms of, breaking up. And I've also felt like lonely and dark. And, especially I had a lot of people actually from the last episode say, hey, like, are you feeling all right? Listen to your podcast. You seem down, you seem lonely. Hey, like, I hope you're okay. And I think kind of, obviously getting those words from, people that do listen to the podcast, it was simply amazing. I think the more people can reach out and, benefit from what we're talking about and benefit from the people that we're interviewing, I think that's my expectation of it. But it's been great. It's been awesome to have obviously such a great audience be supportive to me. And I think, like we talked about Monday, it was my daughter's birthday and I couldn't be there with her. And, even like the closest people that sometimes I thought were actually going to be like, hey, I know you can't be with your daughter today, but I hope you're okay. And, I think that's why I think that day was so dark for me. And, I felt so lonely. And obviously I'm still kind of struggling to continue to find myself in certain ways, but I'm headed the right direction. And that's what this podcast has allowed me and has been great to receive such positive affirmation from external people that do listen to that. So
and are going through the same
thing, because
or can relate to
it. 100%.
Yeah, because I even was in my lift and someone goes, "Oh, I listened to your podcast."
Man,
and
you don't have stairs
great.
like me. Like,
no, I don't have stairs.
No, so fancy.
And I was taken aback. I was like, you know what? I'm used to people saying, "Oh, I liked your post on social media," or "I saw that video you posted. It looked cool." But when that was the first time that someone that I don't know said to me, I listened to your podcast. I was like,
it's a good feeling.
It's such a great feeling. You're like, wow, okay, you listened to which episode? Because there's a few and we've, gone into certain things, but it's really cool to be recognized like that.
I agree 100%. And like I said, hey, it's a positive community that we're growing here, and I hope to continue to grow it as big as we can and try to help as many people as we can, because that was one of the expectations when we obviously started this, to continue to grow it. Yeah,
and also to have a curious mind, to have stories and share our experiences about good coming from bad. I think, we're both quite open with each other. We have such a very not an open relationship.
People are like, I knew it.
I mean, we're very open with each other.
We are very open.
We aren't shy to let each other know when we are struggling. However, now we've got this platform to be able to, talk about struggles, talk about things that aren't going right, talk about our successes. So what is something that you have learned about yourself, or also myself?
I think what I've learned about myself is, like, I'm willing to talk about my, like, low moments. I think, people had such, like, always talk. Whenever I meet people, they always talk about, how successful and what I've done in the industry and always, like, great things. But, what I've learned is, like, hey, like, I am okay to talk about my dark moments, and I am able to, try to reflect back on them, because once again, hey, a lot of people throw things under the rug really quick and they're not able to kind of talk about it. Like, there's people, you ask people, how are you? And every time they're going to say, yeah, I'm good, but they're actually not good. And
one point on that, you're happy to talk about it, but are you happy to understand why? So there's two different things.
Yeah, of course.
There's like, accepting that something bad has happened or something is going on that's bad. And there's another thing, understanding why it's happened or why you're feeling this way. Yeah, Do you want to understand?
Yeah, of course I want to understand, 100%. There's obviously something that's, reoccurring in my life that's making certain things happen. And for me, I'm able to reflect, but it's kind of I'm finding it hard and difficult to work out why. And but once again, I feel it's kind of part of my journey at the moment in order to feel and, feel all these things. And like I said, hey, I haven't been on my own for a long time. Like I'm 34 years old now, and someone at 34 years old, I've only started living on my own without no one recently. That's a big thing,
Massive.
A big thing.
It's a massive step. So I'm glad you've taken that step. But also it's a massive thing that in your adult life, this is where you are. Massive. Because so many different people have the expectation of, I'm going to be married with kids and have that expectation of what society tells you. But bring it back to, bad things happening. What's the good that has come out of that bad thing? But also understanding why you went through that struggle and understanding why, like all the feelings that come with that, because I think that's the core of getting to it and getting to the point where you accept where you're at, you accept those struggles, and that's when you can really move forward, So anyway,
I guess I was pretty deep. Let's loosen it up.
Let's lighten it up a little bit. Yeah. Okay.
What's on the DMs?
Look, we love looking through our DMs.
Do we now?
We
do we now?
I put up a question box.
I reckon you delete DMs.
I reckon you do. I reckon you. I don't delete DMs.
You reckon
ever.
I delete it? Wow.
I like to have the receipts.
Do you like? I've seen you delete stuff. No, I'm kidding.
Stop trying to make up some tea that isn't even hot.
Some Daily Mail. Amy deletes DMs.
I put up a question box during the week. Hey guys, if you do have a question, we will put up a question box here and there. Please make sure you jump onto it so that we can see what you guys want to talk about, what you guys want to know about. So I have a few questions.
Yeah.
This one is great. Give me some insights into self-development.
Some insights into self-development. I'd probably say you'd be this is kind of down your alley,
It is, but also you've developed yourself.
Yeah, I've developed into, I go through obviously stages. Once again, hey, like I feel like I've learned from my failures and what I've done wrong in relationships. And obviously I'm not like with everything that I've failed, and I've learned to obviously not to do that anymore. I think that this is what I do is doing this, and I've obviously become such a better person.
So you've linked what you do, the outcome, and being like, that outcome isn't what I want, so I need to do it differently.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like, even early on, I think it's so easy to lie. And once again, especially in our relationship, I feel like I lied a few times.
Oh, a few. You reckon? You reckon you can count on your fingers how many times you lied?
Well, I only got 10, so... Was it 10? No, I'm kidding. I feel like, lying is such a big thing. And I think obviously now in terms of moving forward, I'm kind of straight shooter.
Are you comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations?
Yeah.
Or are you I don't want to go down that path, so I'm just going to, throw a little white lie out there?
Yeah, I'm straight shooter these days. And even like we talked about, breaking up with my ex, I think that's such a big thing. And I was able to do it.
Which one?
Which one? I think before in the past, I would not have been able to do that. And obviously I kind of just stay there.
Because it's comfortable?
Because it's comfortable. But now, you know what? Like, hey, I've improved my self-development in knowing on who I am, what I want out of a relationship.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to touch on. Insights into self-development. Understanding what you will and won't accept, because that is the guidance of your values, right? When you feel like something's uncomfortable, you feel like you don't want to be in a situation, and you like sit in it and you're like, okay, I'm just going to, take it for the ride that it is because I can't be bothered to have those uncomfortable conversations. I think that's where you need to take a hard look at yourself and be like, I need to do something about this. I need to be able to be uncomfortable again and be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because it's all good and well to just go through life and accept things that you probably wouldn't accept usually, but isn't it about wanting what you want? to a degree.
For sure. Well, you are the most important person, right?
Exactly. If that person, you, is not happy or is not thriving the way it should be, then everything else around you won't. And that's what I look at in the scope of my business, and the scope of my whole life. If I'm not doing well, everything else is going to suffer.
So true.
Yeah.
What else?
Do you have any DMs?
Are we talking about my Instagram DMs, or what are we talking about?
Well, from that question box that we put up.
Yes.
So I also, while you look,
go. What else you got?
I got another one.
What do you got?
The importance of internal validation. How important do you think it is? Internal validation. You obviously
I feel
talking to yourself and being like, you are enough. You are good enough. How important do you think it is?
I think it's super important, but I feel like that's kind of like, for me, like, that imposter syndrome. Suffer from that, obviously, not just valuing my rewards and what I've obviously achieved, and I've always moved to the next thing. But yeah, it's tough for me to I think that is super, super important, and something that I lack.
Do you think that requires balance though? Because there's a point in which you sort of say, I can do everything, I can take on the world, I can do all of these things, which I do, but then you get, buzzword, burnout. You get tired, you get exhausted, you start to struggle. Exactly.
Porn.
How much of it is like, do you really go for it and be like, I can do everything, I can, be a superhero and run the world? And how much is it, okay, I actually need to accept here, I'm not at that point yet, and maybe take a step back and be like, analyze yourself.
Yeah, I'm just the guy that would absolutely just be like, try to take everything on. And that's where I obviously go wrong. I need to kind of be more of that, take a step back and be like, hey, I can't do that. And I'm like, there's so many people out there as well that obviously just go. But it's something that we kind of need to install, and it's not, we're not born perfect, you know what I mean? The more we live, we get these skills, and then we use that in our daily life.
Yeah. Well, I always think about it in the sense of like someone like Kris Jenner, for example. How many hours does she have in a day? Because it looks like she
24.
has. Well, exactly.
Isn't it 24?
I'm glad you.
I don't know. Where's
I'm glad you
now?
answered that
she
for
in
me.
Pluto.
But like, with how busy and how much they do, you're like, do you have a second calendar that is, another day? Because you look at yourself and you're like, oh, I've got no time for this. But you've also got the same 24 hours as every single person on this planet. It depends on how you utilize that time.
For sure.
And it's also about perspective as well.
Is that her perspective, that she's obviously, because she's super famous, she's automatically a super busy person?
Well, no, I don't know her perspective. But, she works hard.
How do you know that?
Well, she's Kris Jenner.
I know, but it could be just the name, right?
Well, no. That is my perspective of her.
Okay.
I don't know her, but that is my perspective of her, that she has hustled incredibly hard to get where she is. She has created these incredible brands and this whole entire family. She runs, 6 kids?
Yeah.
Like, how a female has done all of that.
It is solid, for sure,
Yeah,
100%.
it is solid, and that is my perspective of her.
I wonder what the perspective is of you.
Sorry?
I wonder what's the perspective of you.
You wonder what Kris Jenner thinks of me?
No, of what people's perspective.
I wonder what Kris Jenner thinks of me.
I wonder what people's perspective is of Amy Castano.
I would love to know that.
We should actually put that in a box.
Poll.
I'd actually love to know.
Why don't you put a box on your page and see what people think of Amy Castano?
I'd love that.
Okay, let's do that.
Well, I think
speaking of though.
You cut me off. What's the saying? It's about to solve,
What were you going to do?
I'm kidding.
This week as well.
Yeah.
We have been wearing Vively.
Oh, yeah. We have.
Okay. Podcasters, if people are listening, Jono is currently lifting up his shirt to show the cameras that he's wearing his Vively.
I think it's, once again, I think, the stick is great. For me personally, I've actually had a lot of people, especially when I'm training, they're like, "What's that?"
Well, someone asked. What did they ask?
What did they say? Is that a nicotine patch?
Yeah.
To you,
to me,
which is kind of, I guess, like when you view it from far, you don't know, and I think that's why these, like, obviously for us wearing it and promoting it, and talking to our clients about it.
So what does Vively do?
Well, for us, obviously, in terms of glucose levels, for me, on the spikes and differently, on like how certain food will spike it up.
And then also the lows that you get
as well.
The glucose lows.
Obviously, with sleep as well, how that determines things.
So Vively connects to an app.
Yep.
And it shows you all of this data that you can then view and understand what foods, what activities spike and also lower your glucose levels, which is great to know.
100%.
Right?
And I think it's...
Do you have your app there?
Yeah.
So if you go to a certain day, because we've been wearing it for a week now, we got it put in on Monday.
On Monday, I know.
And it is now Friday.
Yep.
So I
think I love, especially about the app, I think like the components of like, the nutrition, being able to enter that.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
Fitness, being able to track your sleep. I think that's such an awesome thing. But what I've loved about it is, the dietitian that you have on hand. I think having someone on hand that is going through the journey with you, where you're able to ask absolutely anything.
And you can also add your food in, right? You can track your food.
Yeah, they can talk about your food. They can talk about, all right, so this food did this food did that. And I think having like that type of information in the palm of your hand, I think that's like amazing.
Yeah,
and
so can you point out like any time, so for me, I am looking at mine now. So my glucose, so I was in the green level most of the time, right?
Yeah, and then when did it go off?
It went low when I took a sleep gummy.
Oh.
Interesting, right? So
what time was that at? 2 a.m.?
That was at, no, it was at 8:30 p.m. So
you
meant
go
to take
sleep
this
early, eh?
I do, but you're meant to take this sleep gummy half an hour before you sleep.
Yeah.
So I was going to go to bed, like planning to go to bed at 9:30. So I was like, I'll try and get it.
So they do work the gummies.
Sorry?
They do work the gummies.
Don't.
Oh, they don't work the gummies.
No, they don't. These gummies did not work.
Because people say that these gummies are, they're all
it's all the rave at them. Oh, really?
Yeah. I saw a video of someone doing a gummy and it said that there was no creatine in it or something.
Right.
And I was
interesting.
like, so make sure you're tasting those gummy, guys.
So you got to reverse engineer
Taste the
whatever
gummies
you're
is
taking.
my advice. Taste the gummies.
Okay, well, that was my low, but I was in the green most of the time. I didn't really have many peaks and troughs in mine, to be honest. How was yours?
To be honest, mine's looking pretty good. All in the green. I think what I was nervous about is obviously I'm a massive tequila lover, and in terms of alcohol, it doesn't spike it.
Okay.
So I think
it doesn't spike it.
No, it
So
doesn't.
sugar and carbs is obviously what spikes your glucose levels.
Well, yeah, that's right. Because food, tequila, in terms of it doesn't go through a certain part.
So you're saying tequila is the best alcohol?
Yes, a massive promoting.
If you don't want glucose levels to spike.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you learn something new every day on No Business Being a Castano, don't you?
That Jono loves tequila, or is it
that tequila is the best alcohol to drink? So, given that was our week, let's go through our high, low Castano for this week. Jono, what was your high this week?
I think high would have to be, for me personally would be, getting involved with a little bit more with my perfume that's coming out, 333. I think that's kind of like a massive, said it.
Oh, well.
Anyways, people know anyway.
Maybe let's bleep that.
Let's bleep that.
Let's bleep that in the edit.
In the edit.
So that people like,
I think
what
being
is he
able to
talking
kind of
about?
know that that's like around the corner and, how it's all looking towards the very end. It's been a 2-year procedure. So that's been a
process, not a procedure.
It's been a procedure.
Did you have a procedure?
A process. It's been a 2-year process in the making of this obviously 333. So it's been great. Obviously that's been a high for me.
That's been your high?
Yeah, because it's like a little project that's kind of coming to life very, very close.
It's exciting.
Low would have to be, I'd probably say our fights, I think, when me and you fight. Because I feel like, if there's certain people in your life that really dictate in terms of your moods. And, obviously when we do have a fight, I'm not my best self. And I'm the type of human that when I'm not my best self, I kind of close myself in a hole and I don't let anyone in. I don't provide a good energy, and I'm probably say that'd be the low.
So is this your public apology again?
No.
No.
You love a public apology.
I do.
Is that your thing these days?
I would love a public apology.
Right.
I'll get one out of him one day.
I apologise I broke your heart, Amy.
No, I don't want that, to be honest. I worked through that myself. I got myself through that.
Interesting moment. I'll probably say the Robo Rock that I've received. That thing's cool. That thing's that does wonders.
We got that too.
Yeah.
Have you set that up?
I've set it up. I think I'm zipping around my house. It's quite funny, isn't it?
And it's through the app as well.
Yeah,
it's really fun.
I think that was cool.
To see
interesting.
Like your house mapped out and how it knows.
Now I don't even have to move a finger. But anyways, that was interesting.
Yeah.
What about for you, Amy? What's been your...
So I had as my low our fight.
Yeah, I think we both...
The low day that I had. TMI, but I was getting my periods. And I always have a low energy day prior to. You just caught me on that day. And we had a fight.
Because I know when you do. It's on my calendar.
You got it on. Do you have
Amy's
the Flow
period.
app? But you called me on that day, and I think I reacted more so than I should have, and it just really put us both of us in a hole. It does,
to be honest, with me and you, for sure.
Because we talk constantly, regardless.
Yeah.
I send you a quote every morning.
I send you a wakey wakey.
Yeah, every morning. And
Hands
then
off, Snakey.
usually...
No, that's to my guy mates. All right, anyways. What about funny, interesting?
Oh, my high.
No, go.
Okay, let's
change
do Castano.
it up. Come on, you got such expectations. Change it.
My Castano of the week. Okay, Aaron and I have separate iPads.
Oh,
obviously. We both have iPads.
Are they linked?
Sorry? Are they linked? No.
No. Okay.
But I take my iPad to work every day.
Yeah.
I accidentally grabbed his.
Oh.
So I couldn't do
you looked at all his stuff.
No, I didn't.
You were psycho. That's psycho.
Going back to that. Going back to that. What have you?
Psycho.
What have you searched this week on ChatGPT? Just one question, please.
Sometimes I kind of because my, obviously my background is obviously I'm fluent Spanish. Spanish is my number one language. English number two. I kind of sometimes say, hey, create me a nice message to send to someone.
In Spanish?
No, in English, in terms of say for example, say sorry to, give me a nice message on how to apologize to Amy that I was, being a dickhead. And it'll actually give me a really nice message.
So that was ChatGPT that I've received?
Pretty much.
Did you actually mean that?
No, I meant it, but then I kind of rephrase it with the English words that I know.
Right.
Because I'm not English.
Guys, be careful.
Be careful
about
what Jono
what you're receiving from Jono.
I've actually been caught out once and been like, was that from ChatGPT?
Who?
Nah, this was way back in my single days. I was trying to be super smart in terms of
So
business perspectives.
you were trying to impress.
I typed in, I was trying to impress. This was ages ago anyway. And then she was like, is that from ChatGPT? And then I've got caught out and I was like, oh yeah.
You got to be careful.
I know. Well, people know when you're writing from ChatGPT.
Of course they do. All those emojis, all those little
but then
dashes.
I delete it and then I add my word vamos o amigos.
Right.
And then put an emoji, just to make it personalized. That's the trick.
Okay. ChatGPT tips from Jono. You hear the next one in the next episode. My high.
What's that?
Mindset change.
Mindset change.
I definitely had a massive mindset change. I think having a low day, having the fight with you, and then coming out of that and being like, you know what? That shit doesn't matter. All of that shit doesn't matter. There's bigger things that we're doing, bigger fish to fry, bigger issues. Fuck all that. Put it to the side. Let's get on with it.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's amazing, eh? And obviously we'll wrap up with that, Ames. That was really good. 8th episode, done and dusted. Thank you.
Congratulations. Happy 8th anniversary.
Happy 8th anniversary. Let's see how long we last. But thank you for listening. And hey, don't forget to subscribe. And if you do like the episode, hey, reshare it, get more people involved. And I hope every single person actually learned something from that.
Yeah, and interact with us. If there's a topic that you want us to cover, if there's a topic you're interested in and you want to ask a question, we're here.
Don't forget to, when I put up my box on perspectives of Amy Castano, to just go ham on
Let's go through that next episode.
Let's go ham.
I'll put one up about you too.
Yeah, go on. Both of us will do it.
Perfect.
Done. And also thank Vively. I think it's been an amazing, obviously, week to be able to track and talk to a dietitian anytime that I want, especially with the food that I'm having. If it's spiking it, if it's not, my tequila.
It's been such a knowledgeable experience going through the app and seeing that my glucose levels are pretty stable. I had a look at Aaron's and it was, up, down, around the corner.
Down, turn the bit around, down.
So, it was really interesting to see that information. And data is everything, guys. So thank you, Vively, for providing that.
We'll leave the link below if you are interested, obviously, to getting your very own Vively. We'll shoot that link ahead. And, hey, thanks, guys.